Welcome everyone. If you haven't gotten your eye clickers already, please get them here up at the front. We're back in the Tepler room. Hope all of you enjoyed our spring retreat last week. Give me a snap if you really like Ian's presentation. I thought it was really awesome. Very motivational. So, Secretary Brown, if you're ready, please take the attendance.
Okay, so you guys, before I do attendance, I just want you to notice on your agendas this week we have times. So these are tentative times. We're just trying something out, so they aren't exactly, hopefully the meeting is not going to end at 9:10, so we were just trying something out this week. So anyway, Representative DeBaz. Representative Gallo.
President voting.
Representative Huffman. Representative Sabe. Representative Fitch. Representative Smith. Representative Ratliff.
Present and voting.
Representative Razabi.
Present and voting.
Representative Shu.
Present voting.
Representative Heck.
Present voting.
Representative Hyatt.
Present.
Representative McHenry. Representative Ladelpha.
Present and voting.
Representative Butcher.
Present and voting.
Representative Wetterston.
Present and voting.
Representative Komeyer.
Present and voting.
Representative Lindell.
Present voting.
Representative Liu. Representative Tingley.
Present and voting.
Representative Ruska.
Present and voting.
Representative Feaster. Representative Payne.
Present and voting.
Representative Stump.
Present and voting.
Representative Shaw.
Present and voting.
Representative Alvarado.
Present and voting.
Representative Toomey.
Present and voting.
Representative Gladys.
Present and voting.
Representative Rangaswamy.
Present and voting.
Representative Ridgway.
Proxy.
President Agarwal.
Present and voting.
Vice President Hale.
Present and voting.
Vice President Shaw. Vice President Cummins.
Present and voting.
Vice President Cruz.
Present and voting.
Vice President Dooner. Parliamentarian McKee.
Present.
Treasurer Schloff. Treasurer Williams. Speaker Redenzik.
Present. Thank you. Now if you'll all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so first on our agenda, we have our guest speaker for the night, Vice President Glenn Nichols of Student Affairs.
No, thank you. Thanks for the invitation to come and to talk with you briefly. And thank you also for the work that you do on a regular basis. I do receive, I'm on the USG mailing list, so I see your minutes, I see your agendas, and I see your resolutions. It's kind of nice to see the resolutions being developed and then actually come to fruition. So, thank you for being so diligent in representing your role as the designated representative of all undergraduate students at Case Western Reserve University. Divya just asked if I would provide a few updates, which I'll be happy to do, and then if there are a couple minutes at the end, maybe questions about any of them, I'll be happy to answer those. You may or may not have seen in the Daily an announcement about something called Launchpad, which has come to the university. It's based in the Career Center, but it actually represents a partnership between the School of Engineering, the College of Arts and Sciences, and the Career Center in partnership with three other institutions in Northeast Ohio, Baldwin Wallace College, Kent State, and Lorraine Community College. And the purpose of Launchpad is to expand entrepreneurship opportunities and to support programming and offer students the opportunities to explore and be mentored in relationship to Launchpad. This is a program that's fully grant funded from the Blackstone Foundation. It replicates a program that was started at the University of Miami in 2008. And that program has generated 65 startup ventures, 120 new jobs, and nearly 2,000 students that have participated in various elements of the program. So the program is just gearing up here. Staff are being hired, and you'll see more about it as we go forward. You also may have seen that we're one of the campuses participating
in a White House initiative called the President's Interfaith and Community Service Campus Challenge. And a number of programs have already been offered, most recently the movie that was co-sponsored by the Interfaith Initiative and Share the Vision on My So-Called Enemy. About 200 folks attended that, and you'll see more programs as the year goes on. You may or may not have heard that in an effort to operate in a lean but not mean fashion, the campus went through some budget reductions in the spring in university general areas. And a couple of those, a number of those directly affected students. Some of them in a way that was very manageable. Probably the largest, the most noticeable was the elimination of landline telephone service in the residence halls. That's something there's been a lot of discussion about for a number of years. And since almost everyone is on cell phones, landlines didn't make that much sense anymore. And it saves us, hard as it is to believe, about $250,000 a year that funds we can direct in other areas. Well, there were a couple of other areas where we got some pushback, and we've tried to respond to those. One of those was that the Rock Hall was eliminated from the free access program, and I'm happy to report that the Rock Hall is back on board. So if you wish to use your IDs to go to the Rock Hall, you shouldn't have any problems at all. Also, and I know this has been a matter of discussion within the Student Life Committee of USG, was the newspaper program. And we were hopeful that there'd been enough of a move to online reading that the print paper wouldn't be missed. Wrong. The print papers are missed, so they are coming back for this semester. However, in talking with James, I encouraged the Student Life Committee to go ahead and pursue a resolution where we could explore electronic access. Some of it's already available, but we think that making electronic access makes a lot of sense, and it's a much more sustainable sort of position. You'll see a change, not next year, but the following 2 years in our football program. In the UAA, there are only 4 schools that sponsor football, and so we've had a scheduling alliance with the North Coast Athletic Conference, and it's been nice to have these traditional rivalries with Oberlin and Worcester and other schools in the NCAC. But the NCAC has grown enough that they can operate their own football schedule without having the partnership alliance, and so they've terminated the partnership alliance with the UAA. And we've been working and we've known this for a couple of years, and we've been working for the past 2 years to try to get to something that would work for all of the members of the UAA, and we finally got there at the end of the last calendar year. And that is that UAA football, as UAA football, can continue just as it is, with the final game for us each year being with Carnegie Mellon in the Academic Bowl. But we've developed 2 not only scheduling partnership, but affiliate memberships. Effective last month, we are now, along with Carnegie Mellon, affiliate members of the President's Athletic Conference for football only. So we'll be competing in football against the schools in the PAC, which includes schools like Westminster and Bethany and Grove City. And Chicago and Washington University are affiliate members now of the Southern Athletic Conference. For them, that involves a little more travel than the PAC does for us, because that includes schools as far west as Trinity in San Antonio, Texas, and schools in the south. The transitional year of 2000, so in the fall of 2012, the schedule will look very much like it has. We'll be with the North Coast Conference. In the fall of 2014, we'll be with the PAC. 2013 has been a challenge. It's a transitional year for all of us, and so we're working hard to put that schedule together. And Lord only knows who we may be playing then. We've also had discussions with USG via the Student Life Committee, with the Graduate Student Senate, the Grad Professional Council, about a variety of issues related to VEAL, including equipment. In the cardiovascular room, for example, over the last year and a half, we've replaced 27 of the 40 pieces of equipment in the cardiovascular room, but that still leaves 13 old pieces of equipment. And the older equipment tends to break down more frequently than the newer equipment does. After a discussion, a good discussion that we had on Friday morning, Quentin Jameson from the Grad Student Senate and I went over and did a spot check. And we must have checked the right night because all 40 of the 40 pieces of equipment were operating appropriately. But both the replacement of the equipment and hours of operation really come down to resources. And the equipment is easier to resolve than additional hours, but we'll continue to work on that. You've seen work continuing in Uptown, and some of the stores will actually open within the next few weeks. So that some stores will open this spring and possibly even including the bookstore, although I certainly wouldn't make any prediction because there have been various announcements over time that the bookstore would move last August, and then October, and then December, and then March. So if it moves in March, great. If not, it will definitely be there by the time school resumes in the fall. And Uptown should be fully operational by the fall. In fact, there will probably be some sort of a grand opening celebration in September, so that you'll see all those things that you've heard about, including not only the bookstore, but Constantino's Grocery, Jimmy John's, Panera, and others. So something to look forward to. Also, we've continued working on plans for the Wyant Fieldhouse on the North Campus, which would be just at the north end of the village parking garage. And we've nearly completed what's called in the development of project schematic design, which is the basic layout, and hope to complete all of the rest of the design over the summer so that construction can begin and we'd be operational by the time the new student center opens. But the field house will include approximately 4,500 square feet of cardiovascular equipment space. And just to give you an analog for that, the floor in the ballroom and Twing Center is 4,500 square feet. So an amount equal to the ballroom and Twing Center will be cardiovascular. And then an area about 2/3 that size will be devoted to weightlifting and weight resistance equipment. That'll be available for all students. And then mentioning the University Center, we've completed the phase that's known as design development. Schematic design gives you the basic layout. Design development, we work through all of the various details of making the building work. And design development has been completed, and the program of roughly 80,000 square feet, major multipurpose rooms, space for student organizations, including USG, and the offices that support student groups like Student Activities and Leadership, Greek Life, Center for Civic Engagement. All of the program as discussed when we did our mini charrette in the ballroom is just as we discussed it. We've lost no program space. Made a few modifications to some of the materials and things like overhangs and things like that, but the program is intact. USG has made arrangements for the model to be moved to KSL, and I know that the model's ready, the cover's ready, and it's just a matter of getting it moved, and that should happen very soon. And it's very possible that there will be a groundbreaking ceremony in conjunction with Springfest, which seems to me to be a really fitting time to have that groundbreaking. The other thing that Divya asked about an update was on the university plan. Hard as it is to imagine, we're really almost through the cycle, the original cycle of the university plan, and it's actually time for it to be updated. And you may recall that in the university plan, we state our mission as CWRU improves people's lives through preeminent research, education, creative endeavor, and that we aspire as a vision to be recognized internationally as an institution that imagines and influences the future. And there were 4 large goals that under headings of impact, diversity, community, integrity, and transparency. Just to mention a couple of things from a couple of those areas. Under impact, which was about education and research, one of the real big things was internationalization. And as you know, the Center for International Affairs is now a reality. It exists. The Office of International Affairs is in Tomlinson Hall. An international plan developed by the International Planning Committee was developed, presented, has been approved, so we can move forward in a number of areas, including international enrollment, both the undergrad and grad level, TA training, study abroad, and other areas related to internationalization. Another thing that was included in that was the vibrancy of the campus and the impact on undergraduate education. And you'll recall that Rick Bischoff and I came to USG and talked about orientation in the context of a larger effort to increase the emphasis on the first-year experience. So a position description has been developed, and we're in the process of interviewing candidates to be the director of first-year experience, to carry not only the orientation program forward, but that whole first-year experience. Under diversity of the campus community, one of the items was a university center, so it's kind of nice to have that move from an aspiration where it was when the plan was developed to something that's a reality moving forward. Under community, one of the major emphasis was on relationship with alumni and partners. And I think you would agree that there's been a real growth in the emphasis on alumni programs, higher profile alumni programs moving forward under Chris Lehos. And the final area, integrity and transparency, has to do with institutional resources and satisfaction. And we all got to join together at Blue Bash in celebrating a big move forward in institutional resources as the university officially announced the capital campaign that we've been working on for some time. A campaign over several years to raise $1 billion of gifts toward university programs and facilities and endowments. And that we were able to announce at kickoff that we were already nearly 2/3 of the way there. By the way, one of the things that's true about campaigns is that whatever the goal is, you never stop there. The last campaign that we had many years ago was a $350 million campaign, and we raised $417 million. So that if proportionally we could exceed $1 billion by that amount, we'd all be very happy. Another part of that integrity and transparency was administrative review processes, and that is going through a series of reviews to take an in-depth look at our business processes in a variety of areas. And a number of you were involved in interviews with Griffin Associates, because actually we're doing a review process with Student Affairs right now. And you'll also be given the opportunity and asked to complete a brief survey in the next few days about services on the campus. And finally, as I mentioned, Blue Bash was a great success, and it brought together Alumni Weekend and the campaign kickoff. And we've taken a look at programs in a number of places over the years, and a number of institutions that had great success in bringing together Family Weekend, Alumni Weekend, and Homecoming. Rochester has developed a traditional event. Last year they had about 9,000 people that attended, somewhat more than we have at either Family Weekend or Homecoming. And we in Alumni Affairs, in Student Affairs, the President's and the Provost Office would like to work with you and other student groups to do the same at CWRU. And that is to bring together our Alumni Weekend, our Family Weekend, and Homecoming into a giant celebration that would be a little different for all of us than in the past, but I think would be something very exciting and certainly contribute to the vibrancy of the campus. So thanks for the opportunity to share with you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for our guest? Vice President Cruz.
I'm just curious, you mentioned that we got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back. I was just wondering if there are any plans or discussions at all about the aquarium now that it's open?
That's a good question, and it's a more challenging question. One of the reasons, there's no mystery actually to why the Rock Hall was, the Rock Hall and Great Lakes Science Center were at the sort of top of the list when we decided to cut back on free access. One, free access was initially started to get our students access to things in university circles. That's where we placed the priority. And secondly, Rock Hall was the most expensive. And it's far less expensive than the aquarium is. The aquarium is actually a private enterprise, and its initial pricing, at least, is pretty high. So we thought after the dust settled, we could initiate some discussions with them. But we would need to get to some fractional cost from where they are right now. because we're paying, we pay a reduced rate each time a student swipe occurs. And we're way down in single digits with everything except for Rock Hall, so we want to push them there. We'll see.
Representative Ramaswamy.
I know you mentioned that the paper program was kind of reinstated for this semester. Do you know where the funding is coming for that program for this semester?
Yeah, it's going to come where it came from in the past, which was out of housing revenues, which means out of your room rate.
Thank you.
And trying, by reducing the number of papers, we're asking USA Today to go with the minimum number of papers they're willing to do to try to keep the cost down.
Very well. Thank you, Vice President Nichols.
Thank you.
If anyone else has further questions for the Vice President, please forward them to President Agarwal or any executive member, and we'll pass those along. Thank you very much. So, up next, I'm going to change the agenda just a little bit because one of our other guests tonight has to leave early. We have Matt from the SSC here to give a report.
Hello everyone, it's good to see you again. The Student Sustainability Council is hard to work again on a couple new projects. This is sort of a preamble for next week. I'm going to come by and do a presentation on one of our events that's starting up this Sunday actually. But the two main projects we have going forward this semester are a couple of sustainability posters that we're working with Stephanie Corbett, the Director of Sustainability on, and housing to get into the dorms and various parts around campus. There's going to be a set of 3 posters focusing on waste, food, and energy. And the waste posters we're working on setting up to appear during Recyclemania, which, as some of you may know, is a nationwide event at about, I think it's about 650 universities this year. They're competing to see who can reduce their waste the most and recycle as much material as possible for 8 weeks from the 5th of February to March 31st. I will be presenting a couple of slides next Tuesday on that, so I can have more information for you next week. We're going to have several events during the course of those 8 weeks. We're including a UPB co-sponsorship event on Twing Tuesdays, and a couple of surprise events that would really spoil to tell you now, but so keep your eyes out. There'll be some interesting things happening in the next 8 weeks. And if anyone is interested in learning more about Recyclemania or wants to help out or in any way possible, we have lunchtime meetings in Tomlinson at 12:30 every week. So you can come and stop by, figure out what it's like, meet our new Director of Sustainability and our new Recycling Manager. They're pretty cool people. If anyone has any questions, I'm open to points.
Any points for speaker? Representative Radliff.
I know that, I'm not sure if it was your president, but someone from SSC was going to classes to sort of clarify the recycling policy. Is there any more initiatives with that? Are you going to other classrooms?
I'm actually going to be giving a improved version of that, hopefully improved version of that PowerPoint next Tuesday. So it's going to be some new recycling information, some clarified recycling information, and some finer points about the competition itself.
Any other points? Thank you.
I think there was one back.
Excuse me, Representative Ramaswamy.
Real quick, for the presentation that was just mentioned, do you know where exactly that's taking place? I've never seen it, I don't know about it.
We've been trying to target as many classes as possible that have the largest amount of students in them to try to reach as many people as possible. So it's a lot of the major engineering classes and science classes. But I will be giving, again, the presentation on Tuesday too for you guys. So
Thank
you. It'll be a little more detailed than some of the ones that have been going around the classrooms. So look forward to that.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you
Keep
so
up the
much.
good work. Moving into old business, we're going to have our nominations and then our elections portion for the night. Are there any nominations for the 2 open positions in the school nursing caucus? Any nominations for the community representative? Obviously not. And then, done with our nominations, we are going to move into our elections for the night. We're going to start with the elections for the engineering representative positions. Are there any further final nominations for the engineering caucus? Can I get a motion to close nominations?
So moved. Second.
So our two candidates for the night are Abby Sevier, am I saying that right?
It's severe, but you're close.
Sevier, all right, and Linda Relson. So Abby, if you would please approach the podium. You'll have 2.5 minutes to speak and present yourself and then take questions. And if Ms. Relson would please step out of the room, it would be most appreciated. Whenever you're ready.
Hello, my name is Abby Sevier. I want to thank you for the opportunity to run for the engineering representative position. I understand that you have many qualified applicants for this position, but I think I can make a very excellent representative. First off, I am a freshman. While some people consider this fact disadvantageous, I think it's beneficial and that I understand what every freshman engineering student is going through, or at least most. I understand, as I've encountered it last semester, the drag of large lecture courses, the struggle to find a summer internship, and the possibility to one day co-op in industry. Secondly, I have experience. During my junior and senior years of high school, I served as a classroom representative. This experience has taught me the value of having an excellent communicator and advocate for students' beliefs. I understand the responsibility for representing students' dreams, aspirations, and goals is not something to be taken lightly, and I assure you that if I were elected, I would represent students' beliefs just as strongly as I would my own. Thank you so much for your consideration, and I hope to see you this semester as your representative. Are there any questions?
Any questions for the speaker? Colleen?
When you were serving in high school, what was the most challenging issue you faced, and how did you deal with it?
I think an issue that was actually pretty unique to my high school is that we were trying to bring in more freshman students because the way my high school operated was it broke up into 10th, 11th, and 12th grade and then 9th graders. So a lot of people were very opposed to having 9th graders in the class, and that actually caused some instances of bullying. So the issues I dealt with personally as a senior was that some seniors felt that classes were more targeted towards these 9th grade students and that they were being filled with them and they shouldn't be allowed. And we actually ended up contributing to a campaign where we had an event where freshmen and seniors would get together and discover they had more in common than they thought.
Vice President Buter.
So a big part of what we do is problem solving, and it sounds like you're keen on that. Could you perhaps point out a problem at Case or in the engineering school that seems ripe for problem solving?
Well, I think something that probably sticks out most to me is that I actually just recently declared my major. And although I know Case does offer a major fair where you can go around to different tables, I don't think there's been necessarily a cohesive program or event which tells you exactly, like, specifically within engineering, what an engineering major does, the differences between the two, simply because there are a lot of overlaps, for example, in mechanical and aerospace engineering. So I think something that I would really love to see, and I think a lot of other freshmen can benefit from it, is that maybe just a specifically an engineering fair and more maybe representatives from the department telling what makes it different, give a couple example careers.
Thank you very much. If you please step out, and then we will invite you back in shortly. So if you'll just approach the podium, you'll be given 2.5 minutes to speak and then take questions. So you can begin whenever you're ready.
Okay, hi, I'm Linda Relson, and I'm a freshman at Case studying biomedical engineering. If I were elected to be part of USG and representative of the engineering, School of Engineering, I would like to be also part of the Academic Affairs Caucus, committee, sorry. I really want to help improve the first year experience like the guest speaker was talking about, make sure that they feel welcome at Case, make sure they want to stay here, and especially with international students, make them come here and just enjoy their time here as much as possible. And also with the engineering program specifically, hopefully, I've heard seniors talk about all of a sudden it's their senior year and for the first time in their design course they feel like engineers. And I think that's a really big problem, that we need to get engineers from their freshman year and sophomore year involved in hands-on experience and just feeling more comfortable with what they're getting into so they don't all of a sudden get to their co-op or their senior year and say, I didn't realize that I don't like engineering. So they need to know what they're getting into early on. And part of that would be with the new SAGES programs that they've just started this semester, and make those more available and improve those to help undergraduates get their experience. And the SIs and the TA programs, they're really vital, helping the students get past the huge lecture halls and make sure that they really learn comprehensively. So make sure we help those programs survive and do their job. And I don't really have experience being in student government before, but I have communication skills and organization skills. I worked in a restaurant, so I'm good at talking to people and dealing with unhappy people, and I volunteered at my VA hospital. I'm comfortable talking to people, and I shadowed people, medical professionals, and I think I'd be able to do a good job. Are there any questions?
Vice President Uter.
A lot of questions. What, I guess, your key inspiration for why you're here tonight and interested in USG? Why are you interested in USG? I'm curious.
I really want to get involved on campus, and I think that I have ideas and the motivation to help get things done, and I think that's about it.
Great, thank you. If you'll step up, we will invite you back in shortly.
first will be regarding our candidate Abby. The second will be for Linda. So, Chair McKee, you ready? All right, so A for yes, B, and anything else for no. You guys do have the right to be critical, even though there are more positions than candidates. They do still need majority voting.
Clarification on the letters. What about abstaining?
So to clarify, A is for yes, B is for no, and C, D, and E are all abstaining. I think we're bringing out on one or two more. I'll go until 40 seconds.
Alright, so we're gonna take another vote now, for Ms. Linda Relson. Stand ready to proceed. Well, looks like there are two new USG members. Colleen, if you could let me back in. Congratulations to both of you and welcome to USG. So next we have our elections for our arts and sciences candidates. Are there any final nominations for arts and sciences before we move into the election? Okay, can I get a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Decided like Jerry. All right, so Patrick, if you could please approach the podium first, and if our other two candidates, Shariah and Lynn, if you could step outside, please. Go for it.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to start off by saying that last week at retreat, Ian Jarnes said something that really stuck with me. He was talking about how when you give someone something small, it becomes a part of them. What I feel is that over the past semester, being at every GA meeting, USG has become a part of me. And I think that USG is an extremely influential organization, and I'm excited about the potential that it has and the potential that I have with it. So I have all the most common questions that you guys usually ask here in my letter of intent. So if you have any besides that, or if you want to ask those two, I'd be more happy to answer them.
Are there any questions for Mr. Blunt? All right, thank you, Patrick. Okay. Who is it?
What would your ideal GA meeting be?
Well, I think that from the agenda, I think that the every other week meetings are a good idea and something worth trying. And I do think that the discussion that we have is very valuable, but limiting the discussion is important at the same time.
Any other questions? Thanks, Patrick. So if you could invite Shariah in next. So if you could please approach the podium, and you'll be given 2.5 minutes to speak and present yourself and then take questions.
Hi, I'm Taraya San. I'm a sophomore and I'm an English Mother Cam and Spanish major. I'm interested in being representative for the College of Arts and Sciences because I see USG as really like a powerhouse, and because of all the initiative and changes that go on because of you guys, so I'd love to be part of that. I also really want to be more involved on campus and have the opportunity to meet administrative major people. And I've been a case for almost 4 semesters now, so I've been around and I've lived the campus life, so I I know a lot of people, and I think I can get people's voices heard. And I've had leadership positions in the past as well as being a peer counselor in high school, so I've had some experience. Amongst things that I would like to maybe bring up as to change would be things like better utilizing Carlton Commons, because I live on Southside right now, and I think that could be a nice change to get in there. And I know that we're all excited for the Uptown project, and I don't know if this has been brought up yet, but like using Case Cash there before it gets opened, I think it would be cool to maybe get that in there. So, so basically, I just really want to be part of a team that helps Case be an efficient community rather than just a campus. Questions?
Any questions for the speaker? Vice President Duke.
So you mentioned you see USG as a powerhouse. I'm curious to know your interactions with USG in the past, if you're a student group, if you're in a student group or something, and how that's gone for you.
I just hear one of my friends is in USG, and she talks a lot about the efforts that are being made. I thought, after hearing stories from her, I thought I would like to be involved.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you step outside, we'll invite you back in shortly. So Colleen, if you don't mind, would you invite me? All right, so if you'll approach the podium, you're going to be given 2.5 minutes to speak and take questions. And you can begin whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. Good evening, my name is Lin Tran. I'm a second-year student from Vietnam. My major is nutrition. I always been interested in joining USG. However, in the past, I had time conflicts or other commitments and I wasn't able to. I always try to update myself with USG projects by watching GA meetings on YouTube. This semester I do have a more manageable schedule, so I think I'm ready to dedicate my energy to USG. In terms of my involvement on campus, I am a resident assistant in Mistletoe Residential College, and I'm also a mentor in the International Club. So I do have a strong connection to the student body, so I think by joining USG, I can represent their voice and improve their college experience. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Vice President Shaw.
If you could choose, what committee would you plan on leading?
I was thinking finance or academic affairs.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Lynn. Yeah, if you could step outside, we'll invite you back in a minute.
As always, A is yes, B is no, C, D, and E is
And again, just to sound like a broken record, they do need majority votes.
one more percent.
What a surprise. All right, so the next vote will be for Taraya.
For who?
Taraya, the second speaker.
And procedural note, as always, A is yes, B is no, C, D, and E is
I'm not going to repeat it. Taraya is elected. And to move on to the third vote, this one will be for Linda. Colleen, would you please invite our new representatives in? Oh, Colleen. Colleen, don't hurt yourself. We need you. Way to go, Colleen. Welcome. Okay, so we still have one more item in the old business before we can move on. We have the election for the spring 2012 election commissioner. Are there any final nominations for the position? So, can I get a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Second. You know, you guys, you should probably learn to actually make formal motions. It'd probably be good. No. Just for posterity's sake. So, Vice President Cummins, if you would like to say anything, if you'd like to approach the podium. Yeah, do a jig.
It seems kind of crazy. I remember, like I said in my letter, David Gasser as a freshman, as an at-large representative, sitting in the back, never spoke. And it is weird. It's like a generation ago almost. I just wanted to read the last two paragraphs, get you guys revved up. So, now I realize that all the effort and work needed not fall on the shoulders of the commissioner and the commission. It will also be my immense task to encourage and incentivize the General Assembly to recruit their friends and colleagues. You all are the first and last marketers for USG. It is that buy-in student leaders always strive for. In the next month or so, you'll be reminded of why you joined this organization, and hopefully you'll make USG stronger. For the inevitable result is a stronger Case Western Reserve University.
Are there any questions for the candidate? Thank you, Stephen. Are there any points for discussion? You do have a vote, so I'm guessing that there are no points for discussion, so I'm going to suggest that we move to the vote. Is there any dissent? Right, so we're going to move into the vote then.
As always, A is voting yes, B is no, C, D, and E is
Sorry, Steve. Voting for people, that's always secret. That's why we have secret ballot. Lauren, don't you dare.
One more, I'm gonna do until 32 seconds.
Congratulations, Stephen. Good luck, Steve. They're going to be great. So moving on to new business, we have one item tonight, the SLIG committee endorsement. So I defer now to President Agarwal.
All right, guys. Just a really quick recap of what SLIG is. I mentioned this at retreat last week. SLIG, Student Life Improvement Grant. So for the past couple of years, USG has set aside some funds, internal funds, to promote student groups or individuals or offices and departments to create proposals for things that would improve student life. So we are going to do that again this year. Some examples, I mentioned this last week, some examples of SLIGs from the past are the Borrowable Projectors program, which was launched last semester. That was a proposal that was brought up by the Student Life Committee and led up by Vice President Hale. We've also had the SLEBS sound equipment system that is being managed by Footlighters. It is a big sound system set that they are managing, and they let student groups borrow for their events. So each year they come up with another proposal to expand that system, and we give them money, and they've followed through, and that system has been a success. So we want to make SLIG even more awesome this year. We put more money into it, and we want more people to submit proposals. So with Colleen, we suggested that we get started right away, find some really dedicated members to lead up a committee, and then we already have a timeline set, a preliminary timeline set that I would meet with the committee and get this whole thing started, marketing, everything. I think it should be a GA effort to encourage everybody to bring proposals, to submit proposals to this. But first, Colleen and I both thought it would be a good idea to have GA sort of endorse this committee so that it would be a little bit more legitimized. All of the members that you see in my exec report, these were people who either I asked personally to join or they volunteered on their own. The last member, who's a non-USG member, was nominated by a current USG representative. And I emailed him and he agreed to be on this committee. So we tried to get some diversity in there. Obviously, the Vice President of Student Life should be on the Student Life Improvement Grant Committee. So I would like to make a motion to have a vote on this. Would that be possible? Move to vote on the SLIG endorse the SLIG committee. Move to endorse the SLIG committee.
Second.
Second. All right.
So we are going to take a vote to endorse the SLIG committee regarding all these people. Are there points for discussion? Okay, so we're going to move into the vote then to endorse these people listed in the executive report for the SLIG committee.
Please vote A, yes to approve this endorsement, B for no, and C, D, and E all abstain.
Congratulations, President. Your committee is endorsed. So moving next into committee reports. President Agarwal.
Thanks for approving the SLIG committee. We're going to get started right away. Hopefully we'll be able to start accepting proposals as of February 6th. But that does not mean it's too early to get the word out. So start getting your thinking caps on. Anybody can submit a proposal, anyone. Okay, all I'm going to do here is just kind of bring your attention to the open forum discussions. If you have not already, please read the UC Berkeley Davis letter so that we can be prepared for that discussion. It is in the agenda. And please also read the proposal that was made for the GA change. And other than that, I'm open to points.
Points for President Agarwal. Thank you. Vice President Hale.
It's all on paper. Any points?
Are there any points for Vice President Hale? Thank you. Vice President Shaw. Colleen.
I just wanted to commend the committee. I think you guys are doing an amazing job, and you're really pursuing some, I think, incredibly important things. And I've been reading the minutes and I'm just dazzled by it, so I just wanted to commend you.
Vice President Shaw, are you ready?
Most of my report is on the agenda. Just a heads up, next week, there's going to be a lot of finance legislation, so you're ready.
Are there any points for Vice President Shaw? Treasurer Williams, would you like to give a report?
Yes, just very briefly. Really quickly, our office hours are not actually listed on there, I'm not sure why, but I have office hours from 11 to 12 on Wednesday and 2 to 4 on Friday. In addition, our finance system's back up and running, thank goodness, and so we're doing that, processing disbursements. And next week will be the first ever Treasurer Trivia tip of the week, where we're going to start doing a little Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style voting, the iClickers, on some fun trivia questions related to finance. So get ready for that and get really excited.
And any points for Treasurer Williams? Vice President comments?
A lot of updates there. Y'all read them. I actually got reminded of a couple things when Nichols was up here. A cool thing from the Office of Development, they basically control the big fundraising campaign. The last 6 months, from July to December, we actually raised $99 million. And the last year, so a year from that July date, we only got $68 million. It was our biggest year ever. So that's really awesome. Also, and then he talked about the first year experience director. I've been told that all the interviews are done, they just have to make the final decision, so that's exciting. And then also faculty members, they've made some concerns about Whitkey Award and how right now there's no distinction between tenured professors or tenure track professors and instructors. So traditionally, well, not traditionally, but just how it's shaken out so far is that usually at least half instructors and half tenure track faculty. And so basically the big difference there is that instructors devote all their time to teaching and being with students, whereas tenure track faculty have committee and research considerations. So it's a fairness sort of thing, and that may be shucking out by the provost. They just make two different awards. So most points.
Any points for Vice President comments?
So interesting.
Thank you, Steve. Vice President Cruz.
Hey guys, long time no see. As far as your reports go. Everything's in my report basically, other than that spotlight, which cannot be typed. So let's see. First person today. This person is a biochem major. This person, we're in a world overrun by zombies, weapon of choice would be NerfCon. Obviously this person is a case student. Let's see. Matt.
Is it representative to you?
It is not. Celebrity crush, Taylor Leutner, or Lautner. Looked on this campus too long. They're Kate.
Representative Gladys.
It is.
She requests that you keep going then.
Okay. So, if she were a flavor of ice cream, she would be Death by Chocolate. Let's see. Title of autobiography would be Taylor Gang. I'm blushing. Let's see. Dogs or cats? Dogs. Doppelganger, Taylor Swift. Let's see it. Or me, We're the same person. She's a cake person, not pie. She could change her name, she'd change it to Taylor Swift. Favorite TV show is The Sing Off. Okay, so I will not throw that from here. But Butterfinger or Babe Ruth? Put you on the spot.
Which one doesn't have peanut butter?
Both have peanuts, but I can give you a rain check for one that doesn't.
I'll take the range.
Okay. I'll just pocket the big part for myself. We'll see. Alright, second person. Let's see. Dream job would be to be a Disney Imagineer for Space Mountain or to judge a cooking show. Let's see. This person more flavor of ice cream, that would be chocolate raspberry. Autobiography would be titled Not Finished Yet.
Is this? Oh, shit.
Yes. Good answers today.
Can you read the rest of my answers?
Do or don't?
Do.
Good, because I'm going to anyways. Colin is a math and history major. World overrun by zombies who use love and hugs because zombies need love. Let's see. Something on his bucket list is to climb a mountain in Antarctica. And the rest of the continents as well. Biggest pet peeve is cracking joints. Favorite movie when he was a kid was Toy Story. Or not a fan of Toy Story, that's just me. Apparently I'm heartless. Song you could listen to every day. Either Castaway by, I don't know how to say this, Chasen, or Sleigh Ride by Reliant K. Favorite celebrity, or celebrity crush, Tina Fey. I respect that. I think I was probably good there. Other than that, I'm open to points.
Are there any points for Vice President Cruz?
Alright, Jim.
Thank you, Vice President Cruz. Vice President Junior.
Since we have kind of a special update, I'm gonna have Brian do my voting thing. Voting.
All right, as part of IT Committee and ITS, I am happy to announce that Case Wireless has finally been fixed. We had enough pressure on ITS to finally call in the contractors who run the firewalls, and they came and found out that there was a limit on the number of people who could be on the network at one time. So, whenever you had that waiting list where you waited like 3 minutes before you got a connection, it was the firewall waiting for someone else to sign off so you could get on. So they made the adjustments, and now it's fixed, but Mike Cubitt from ITS wanted us to say that the network's not totally fixed yet, it's just the biggest issue is, so don't it's not perfect, but as far as I can tell, it's working way better, so open for points.
Yeah, add one thing. So try out Case Wireless, please. Let us know how it goes. Be positive. This is mostly an announcement so that you try it again, not so that you expect everything to magically work. But this is a big problem that they think they've solved. So cool. Good job, networking. Thanks, Brian.
Any other points for Vice President Duna and the IT Committee? Okay. Well, a big thank you from all of us and the rest of the student body. Parliamentarian McKee.
Hey, 2 quick things. One, those are not my correct office hours printed. I am currently working on setting up new office hours and my work schedule shifting. So if you need to have a meeting with me, feel free to schedule an appointment, just email me. And my point of the week, to break a little bit from a parliamentary procedure point, I want to point out that USG elections for next year start in March, the beginning of March. So February is a great time to go looking around. If you're thinking about an officer position, talk to the person with that position. If you're thinking about a rep position, talk to an older rep. Look at different committees, go to their meetings, see what you think your place might be here next year. That's all.
Are there any points for Parliamentary McKee? Representative Vaughn, I can say that now. Do you have a report for diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, I just wanted to invite everyone and their friends to come to the Diversity and Inclusion Committee meeting this Thursday at 8:30 in the USG office. If you're at all interested or know anyone who might be, please tell them to come. Thanks.
Moving into caucus reports. Would any of the caucuses or speakers like to give a report tonight? Representative Shaw.
So it's not exactly a report, but a cool announcement that I was pretty excited to say that we got an email from a student, and this was our first piece of voluntary, non-coercive feedback, and we were really happy and really excited about it. So we're gonna be acting on that hopefully as soon as possible.
Are there any questions or points for Representative Shaw in the first year caucus? Would any of the other caucuses like to give a report tonight? Okay, moving on then. We're going to have a couple open forum discussions tonight. Secretary Brown, is there anything for the USG feedback report? Nothing to report this week. The next, I'm going to defer again to President Agarwal for 2 discussions that she'll be facilitating tonight.
Busy. Okay, so this first open forum discussion about this letter that's in the agenda, I was contacted by a representative from the student government at Northwestern University, and this was their initiative. They felt very moved by the incidents at UC Berkeley and UC Davis. I'm not sure if some of you were aware. Students on those campuses were involved in a peaceful protest that was not well received by campus police and resulted in some students being injured and by the police, campus police. And so students across the country have kind of mobilized to express their dissent about what happened on those campuses. And Northwestern actually went as far as to write legislation expressing their concern about the events. And so I was sent the resolution as well as this letter that's in your agenda. And the representative asked me to present this to our assembly and sign this letter to show support for being against these events that happened on this campus. And I was contacted over break, and so I had to wait. I wasn't going to make a decision on this on my own. I wanted to formally bring this to the assembly, have you all read it, and formally vote on it. Also to facilitate any discussion, anything you might want to say about this letter, your feelings, thoughts. It will be time, no worries, but if you have any comments about this letter or any feelings at all about these incidents, please feel free to discuss, and then I will make a motion again for a vote on signing this letter. We basically be replacing Northwestern's name with our own at the bottom of this letter, and I would be sending it back to them. So it would say, where is this letter? Signs, Case Western Reserve University, undergraduate student government is what it would say. I'm open to points.
So we're going to have discussion for until about 8:15. Theo, Representative.
So you're asking us to vote on this tonight?
Yes.
So if you have any points for discussion, any thoughts on this, it's at the back of the agenda. If you haven't read it already, hopefully you've had a chance to glance at it at least. If you have any thoughts on it, make them known. Representative.
I actually like for us to maybe wait a week and for us to all go back and talk with our friends and our constituents and see what they think about it. Because we are a small number here, and I think if there are a lot of people out there who know, especially for me, there are a lot of people who know more about it, and I'd like to do some research and really talk to everyone around me so I can vote for not just my personal opinion about it, but the people I represent about it. So that's what I'm suggesting.
Okay, well, to follow up on that then, President Agarwal has asked us to vote on this tonight, but as members of the assembly, you do have the right to move to table this decision.
If there is a motion to table, that's completely fine.
Has she made the motion?
I did not make a motion.
No. So, points for discussion. Does anyone have thoughts regarding this letter from Northwestern? Representative One.
I think it's a really good thing and it sends a good message, but it also, I just want to make sure it doesn't send a bad message to our campus safety and police officers because they do a really great job and we just want to make sure we don't offend them.
Representative Alvarado.
I just had a question. Where would this be going? Like, is this going to UC Berkeley, UC Davis?
President Agarwal.
From my understanding, that when the email that I received from the representative, it would be going to their university. Yes.
Vice President Hale.
Exec saw this a while back and I've read it and I personally like it quite a bit, but I think it might be cool to take this a little further as our own being our own assembly and maybe looking into the issue ourselves, and instead of just signing a letter and mailing it back to Northwestern, if we're actually feel strongly enough to sign this letter, let's do something here as well.
Any other points to the discussion? Colleen.
The other thing I would encourage is maybe Didier, you can contact the woman that you spoke with, and I think suggested, the letter is a little bit weak, I think, in terms of we all know nationally what happened, we all know how we feel about that, but I guess the question is what has been the downfall since? How many institutions have tried to ask for reasonable freedom of speech policy and been denied it? Or I guess the question I would want to know is what the windfall is, because, you know, have other campuses tried to move forward in a proactive way and been shot down? This is just a support, a combined support, but it doesn't say to what end. I guess that's what I'm looking for is, you know, what will be, you can sign a letter, but what does it mean to sign the letter? So it doesn't say that in the letter. Does that make sense? Like, if you sign this, we will present it as a voice of students across the nation, and that we are asking for the following information, or the following procedures, or the following respect, or something. Am I missing that? Did anybody else catch that?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Troy Williams.
So Colleen, so are you talking about, like, for example, would you rather the letter say, like, almost make a pledge of what we want to do here at CASE, or?
Well, I think that
like,
I would just simply say that to sign a document is a wonderful show of partnership, and it's a great thing to do if the outcome were clear. In other words, I think as human beings, we'd all say what happened isn't acceptable, but it's not saying in this letter of support exactly to what end. So I would just propose either adding that yourself and saying, we the undersigned agree that, you know, come up with a statement, or just make it a little bit more specific is what I'm asking you to look into, or create yourselves.
Representative Smith.
At the last paragraph sort of goes into it a little bit, what they sort of want, but I like Colleen's idea, and I think we should definitely personalize it to our campus, because our campus isn't like any other campus across the nation. While there are similarities, we're definitely different in our opinions and how we approach them. So I think we should do research, and if we choose to sign it, but definitely go through our policy and see and explore what we do, and definitely work on our campus and see what we can do with that.
Representative Rangaswamy.
Part of me too wants to, you know, when you get one signature from, you know, just in general from USG, that's great and all. But if we really personalize this and make this our own, how cool would it be to have many more signatures from many people all throughout the student body? A coordinated effort to try to get signatures led by USG through the various caucuses and to bring a strong voice. It's not just one person from an institution signing it, but we have 1,000 names, 1/4 of this undergraduate student campus, or something of that nature, a more powerful message. Because I think a lot of times when you just see one signature, it's a little overlooked, because you really don't know what the power of influence is behind that. So I would love to see something like this, but maybe take it that step further and see if we can make a campaign out of it to truly get our feelings out there.
Representative Easter.
If I'm understanding the intent of this letter correctly, I think that perhaps what people are debating here is something that should be more case-oriented as opposed to in response to this particular letter. So I don't see a problem personally with signing USG's name to this document. If we feel like we want to add a paragraph of our own, I mean, then that's what we decide. But I think maybe if we just sign this and then internally decided to make a statement or what we wanted personally, or if we want to do something like that, that would be more appropriate than what I see as being a really good and appropriate reaction led by Northwestern. So rather than trying to interfere with what they're trying to do, I think if we want to do something else, we can do that internally.
Vice President Cummings.
I want to take a little bit of a different tack on this, and I guess when I was a freshman and sophomore, we had organized trips to other campuses and involvements with other undergraduate student organizations, like, you know, and I just think this type of thing is really cool. It, you know, kind of reminds us that, you know, we are part of a larger country rather than just our little case community, and I think case tends to be a little inward sometimes, and, you know, this type of stuff is really cool, so, yeah.
Vice President Dooner.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the decision of whether we want because I get Northwestern is collecting they're trying to collect a lot of signatures for this. They're looking for like a strong stance of solidarity behind their letter is my impression of this. And so I think if we want to customize it or trick it out with our own feelings, I think that's cool. But if we start like rewriting it too much, then we sort of lose out a little bit on the I don't know, the original piece of legislation.
Representative Alvarado.
I think we should take some time to like look it over and speak with others on our campus, because I feel like this is a really loaded document. Like it's not, there's like underlining things, and it's it like makes me nervous that like we're so quick to sign it, but there's like so much more that they're alluding to than like just like if we go with this, then we're saying our whole campus is kind of one way. I don't really know how to word it, but like personally, I'd like to do more research and just like it's a good cause, but it's definitely loaded. Like there's something else, and I don't feel comfortable voting on something when I'm totally uneducated. And I know other students feel strongly for the other way, and if we say yes to this, then does that mean, you know, it just means other things on the surface.
Thank you. We've hit time, so at this time I'm going to defer to President Agarwal and see how you'd like to move forward with this, if you'd still like to ask for a vote or not.
I mean, I just want to make one comment, is that when you think about this in the future, I think this is going to be tabled, and that's totally fine. But when you think about it, I think it's already been brought up that either we go on this on our own or we follow this letter as is, because I don't feel comfortable telling Northwestern that they need to alter their letter for us. So I'm totally fine if we do want to pursue this and we don't like their language, we don't like how they've portrayed this, for us to consider going on it on our own. I was told that this letter has already been signed by several other universities, so I don't know if it would be okay for us to change this letter specifically for us. So that's all I'm going to say is please do your research. If you really are opposed to the way they've portrayed this, then we can think about if we want to go about it on our own. That's all I'm going to say. But if anyone has a motion to table, I'll table if you want. Move to table this.
Before that, Colin, give
I don't want you to leave the room thinking that I said change the letter. That's not what I said. What I said was, in order to do what Theo suggested, is that in order to, you're going to have meaningful conversations for the people that you're representing, and we know that that can be very difficult. So as a caucus, if you are going to sign your name to a letter like this, you're representing the undergraduate population. So what I'm asking is if you don't feel that this letter demonstrates a true, thus, this is what will happen, or we're signing this just to say yes, that every campus must have a free speech area, there must be a secure and safe process involved, because not every campus has their own police department. I'm reading through it, I totally am. Not every campus has their own police department, so some people are very susceptible to community police response. So I know what it's doing, but I know because I know. What I'm asking is if whether or not you feel this letter says what it should do. So maybe the best thing you could do, as you mentioned, do your own research. Let this letter get into the hands of the people you represent, some of them. Even if you go to 10 students this week and say, could you read this letter? Would you support and endorse this letter? Okay? That's what I'm asking you to do. I'm not asking you to change or do any of that, because I do believe that's not that's not open for discussion. This woman wants you to sign it intact. So whether you know enough or not is entirely up to you. That's what I just want to clarify.
Thank you, Colleen. So at this time, I'm going to ask that someone formally move to either go into the vote or table. Vice President Hale.
At risk of not doing what you ask, I move that we commit the consideration of this letter to exec.
Do you want to have an action step there, like to make a recommendation, or to do what? To do what? Sorry. I just think there should be an action step there.
Also, if it's not seconded, I can't recognize it.
Oh. Well, I'll leave it at that. Well, I mean, I think I hear all your concerns about educating ourselves. It being in a committee means that a committee is charged with educating itself about it. So I think instead of just letting this float until our next GA, we should assign some group to actually look at it critically and come back to us with some opinion of it. And make a recommendation.
Second.
Does anyone have a point or points for discussion regarding committing this to the executive committee? Representative Fitch.
I think if we're going to put all of the undergraduate student government's name on it, we should all have our own information about it, research, not just one committee.
Any further points? Representative Feaster.
I'm actually with VP Hale on this one. I think there's nothing preventing us, if we do refer it to exec, and exec comes back with a recommendation, that's something that they can do, and then we can all go, if we want to, and show this letter to our constituents and think about it ourselves. So I don't think the two conflict in any way.
Representative Randall.
Point of order. So I guess what I'm confused about is, oh, just kidding, I'm sorry. Sorry. I guess my question is, so if we put this in the hands of exec and you guys make a decision or a recommendation, that means that all of GA will still vote on it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Any final points? Okay. Then does anyone dissent to moving into the vote regarding committing this to exec? All right, then.
Can I just remind everyone that you are all invited to attend exec meetings under President Agarwal's intention. So if you are interested, are you going to talk about it this week, Divya?
Now that it might be recommended to us, so we should probably put it on our agenda.
You can go with that.
Okay, so get your eye clickers ready, people. To commit to the executive committee, A, no, B, abstain, everything else. So, this topic will be referred to the executive committee for now. So, President Agarwal, I believe we have another discussion to talk about if you want to do this and that next.
I'm back. Okay, I'm not gonna go before. So I hope you guys got a chance to read this proposal. I've pretty much said everything that the executive board has thought about this. We talked about this, actually it was first brought up at our executive retreat 2 weeks ago. And I brought it up after talking with Colleen, and I thought it was a crazy, crazy, crazy idea. And I didn't know how the executive board would receive it, but I thought, hey, I'll try it anyway. It's, what could go wrong, you know? So it was just executive time. So they encouraged me to think about it a little bit more and then bring it up to you guys. My justification for bringing it up is in my first paragraph. And basically, I have listed some cons there. I might not have hit upon all of them, but, and again, we don't have to confirm this tonight, but if it were to be voted on, and if it were to be voted yes, then the hope is that the rest of our GAs this semester would follow this pattern every other week. So, just trying to let you know that this would be an immediate change. But I would like this discussion to be about basically a pro and a con discussion. What do you guys see the pros of this? Cons of this, there could be many, but I think we should discuss it because this is a huge structural organization change for us. In my time, I don't know ever, Colleen, has GA ever been an every other week thing? It's always been every week, but I thought, why not try something new? So, open for discussion.
Points for discussion. Vice President Dewey.
I think there are a lot of pros to it. One con is that it requires a lot of planning on the part of VPs in terms of making sure that the 2-week cycle is as productive as the 1-week cycle.
Representative Feaster.
Just a question. If we go to every other week, would that mean would that mean the meetings would be longer, or would the meetings be the same length and we would just condense everything, or what?
So I have, I can't guarantee the meetings will be as long as they will be. I can't guarantee that. It's really dependent on how much business there is, how much the VPs want to share. I also have the alternative proposal that I also listed, that we would have a longer assembly if we were to combine the committee meeting with the GA. So that would be longer, no doubt, but you would have one less meeting a week. I don't think anybody wants to go over an hour-and-a-half meeting. It's really going to be dependent on the executive committee to condense as best as possible to decide when legislation is presented. Like I said, all our finance legislation, our whole perspective on finance is going to have to change because our funding of student groups right now is depending on us passing certain resolutions and bills. So ideally we can try to keep the meetings as short as possible, but I can't guarantee right now, because I've never tried it before, how long it might go.
Representative Rob. Can you remind me? I'm so sorry.
Razavi, it's okay. I know I haven't attended a lot of GAs, this is only my second one, but being a newcomer, I think I have a unique perspective. I think it's a pro doing every other week because it's sort of a shock for newcomers for the time commitment, but I think we can still get stuff done meeting every other week, and it's definitely a pro.
Representative Gladys.
I know this is kind of like a personal thing, but for me, like I have bio lab every other week on Tuesday nights for this semester, and I feel like, especially in the future for any other representatives, it's so chance like which week you'll have it in the rotation because it's every other. So you could take out a lot of reps, or at least freshmen for sure, by doing this. That's a con, I think.
Representative Shaw.
Alright, so there's a couple things. First off, USG is a time commitment. When we ran for this position, one of the main questions we ask any representative is, can you fit it in your schedule? We know that it's a big thing and it means a lot to us, which is why we commit to it. Second thing, meeting once a week. As USG, not only are we supporting the campus, but an integral part of that is building relationships within ourselves, and being together once a week, uniting and seeing everybody really helps us understand how we as individuals fit in the larger picture, and that's really important. Also, as Jason pointed, was it Jason? Whoever talked about finance, mentioned that funding for student organizations is dependent on us passing the bills that we do for allotting funds to the organizations. Organizations will need funds if it's rolling funding. I know there's a lot of bills that we pass during that time, and they need the funds when they need them. They can't wait an extra amount of time. And then also, USG GAs are a venue for communication, not only for us, but to the campus as a whole. So if there's an issue that somebody wants to address that is either a time sensitive or something like that, there should always be a venue where it can be brought to discussion to the campus as a whole, and this is what USG GA is for. Thank you.
Representative Toomey.
I know that nobody here likes having GA be nearly as long as it is. We'd like to be here for half an hour and just be gone. But it's really necessary to have GA regularly every week, because if we would break it into every other week, we would have so much business to deal with that it would be overwhelming, and our meetings would take much longer than they do now. And I agree with Samir that meeting every week helps build our connections within USG, and that helps us function better as a whole group. So I would definitely say that we should keep the meetings every week.
Can I clarify something? I'm sorry, I don't normally jump in, but I want to clarify something. The thing you've got to remember is that, and I'm not sure you're extracting that from Divya's notes, USG would assemble in this room every week. 1 week it would be for a USG Assembly meeting like this. The week after that would be committee meetings in this room. Was that clear to everybody?
That was the proposed other
Correct,
option.
that's right. So the other thing that, because the legislation piece, Samir, was brought up at my house when we did our retreat, one of the things we talked about was if needed, the assembly could go through roll call. You're gonna have to go through roll call and do a vote of something, because you have to be here for the committee meetings. I mean, this is a mandatory situation. It's just 1 week it's committee. So what it's doing is eliminating the committee meetings. That's all it's doing. It's not eliminating gathering in this room. That's all that, am I right? Did I get that right?
Right, so it's an every other week deal. So one week we'd be doing GA business, and the following week would be committee business. However, if we needed to convene in that committee week for some serious business,
like a vote,
we would have everybody here, so we could make that vote.
Is that clear? Did everybody get that? I wasn't sure that that's the sentiment I was hearing around the room. Just so you know. Committee. It's committee.
Finance would be an exception to that because of the interaction with student organizations to approve funding related issues. So finance would be an exception. They would have to meet on their regular time.
Representative Kalmeyer. Representative Payne. Representative Liu.
I guess I was just asking if finance coming here, not here, how can we vote for it? That's a good point.
Well, the exec is going to have to present their legislative stuff. If it has to be voted on, you guys are going to have to be notified. So finance would have to show up that week for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Do you see? Okay.
Representative Ramaswamy.
I don't know how this will affect every committee, because I'm only in student life, but I know student life does a lot of stuff, and when we meet on a weekly basis, it's a great time to sort of update each other and get a lot more done and move on in the agenda. So I don't know if that's pertinent to every single committee. I'm sure it is, but you get the idea. Like, I don't know the situation of every committee, so I can't comment. And also, I do sort of, if we had to choose between the two options presented, I am leaning more towards the second option that was proposed. They sort of have a little bit of both the GA and the committee meeting structure every week. Because, not only, yes, a lot of other groups on campus do this, but I do feel that it makes sure that every week we are meeting and doing stuff together. And I see that as a way where the finance committee could still discuss things that are going on every week, because they are technically meeting every week. It's just after GA for like 45 minutes or whatever the time slot may be. And I think we might be able to start a little bit earlier, maybe like 6:45 or something, to edge out the, I don't know how that would mesh with classes, but to edge out the sort of little extra time we would need for meeting with our committee.
Thank you. Representative Smith.
So, maybe I'm confused. When we have the committee meetings, is it going to be like student life begins and then they're going to scoot out and academic affairs are going to come in this room?
No.
How
Like parts of the room.
we're all going to be in one room? Okay.
GSS has this model. They break out into their committees and their initiatives and stuff, and it works. In terms of, you're worried about like noise level and stuff, yeah, it works.
I'm sure we could go into
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't
But the point is that we'd all be sort of together. If we needed to convene, we could just call everybody in.
All right, thank you.
Vice President Hale.
I think sort of addressing that directly, this came a long time ago, but this every other week, GA, then committee, then GA, then committee, would, I think, transform both the way GA and committees run. So like what you're used to in committee will not be what happens in committee with this exactly. But we do have another group to look to for like advice on how to do this, and that's GSS, who only meets once a month. So this isn't like coming out of the blue. It's not like the exec has no idea what's going on. And things will not be the same, so they will be adapted to how the new model works.
And we're going to hit time soon, but I think you all are enjoying this discussion. Well, you're making a good discussion. So if you've had your hands up until now, I have your names down, you can raise them, but after that, I'm not going to take any more names. Vice President Duder.
So two things. Number one, I want to challenge the notion that the GA length, the main component of the GA length, I think, comes down to board reports. It comes down to elections. It comes down to caucus reports. It comes down to things that happen every week, and it takes us time to go up to the podium and back. And if we do that once every other week, we can make our board reports more inclusive because I don't think that it won't be 2 times the length. It'll be maybe a little bit longer or something, but it'll be 2 times the length. And so I think this is kind of an interesting opportunity for us. I think that we don't have to, we could even not do this for the rest of the semester even. We could just say, well, we could try it for a couple weeks and see what happens. We're doing a lot of speculation as to what's going to happen. And, there's a lot of cons up there, but I think there's also a lot of pros that aren't out there. But we could give it a shot for a couple weeks and see what happens.
Representative Payne.
Okay, I kind of have 2 things, one's a pro, one's a con. But I think switching to model, committee, and GA, flip-flop with each other every week would be good, and the fact that it would really get committees kind of more aware of each other, and what is actually going on, because we're all here, it would, there's be some overlap, and people would maybe be more aware of what's going on. The other committees will feel better than we are now. The only thing is kind of, as a member of the finance committee, I feel like that thing is just really, it's not concrete. It's well, maybe you have to come, maybe you don't, and especially if someone misses a GA, then if we're doing part committee business and part GA business, they're gonna miss so much more than they would if they just missed one GA. And I guess what I'm saying is it's kind of, it would be more concentrated, so if you did miss it, it would be more that you missed.
Respond to that one real quick?
Sure.
Why couldn't the finance committee meet?
I should have texted VP Sean about this, but I think actually this might actually help because a lot of what Finance Committee does on Fridays is fund people and listen to funding requests. And I mean, it's a good thing to do, but it gets so repetitive after a while. We don't have time to do initiatives. We don't have time to actually do things that help improve the student body or the student groups as impressions of USG. And we want to do some different initiatives. And we want to do some different things like that we run out of time for in committees because we have to work on funding. And so, it would be a little bit more work, maybe perhaps for the finance committee, but it might actually really help us so that we can get things done.
So you're proposing to continue your Friday meetings where you're funding and
but
interacting with groups, but still come and maybe talk about, committee.
Because for example, a lot of our committee time, there's some weeks where we have a couple funding requests. That's great. We don't have to meet for the entire, hour and a half. That we can just meet for the 30 minutes that we need to fund, and that's it. And so it'll be just a purely a funding session. And so that, we can do a lot of work doing GA, that we've been trying to work on some collegiate link, manuals, and trying to update the student organization handbook. And so that's stuff that can be done in GA that we just don't have time for. So.
Thank you, Treasurer Williams. Representative Shaw.
All right, so I think Vice President Duner brought up a good point about elections. Although I would like to use it in a different way. Elections are something that are used to fill vacancies here on USG, slots in different committees. I mean, not committees, but caucuses. So these vacancies that occur are necessary to be closed as soon as possible. So we have a full running GA, so we have, a full running body, and that we get as much input from the student body as possible. And so if a vacancy does occur, it can be closed fastest if we had the weekly meetings. Second of all, committees, if I understand correctly, this proposed structure would have committees meeting alternate weeks than GAs. Committees, as we know it, as VP Hale talked about when referring with making the motion to refer to the letter to committee, are the powerhouse of what USG is. It's where stuff gets done, where stuff really gets taken a look at and pulled apart and then acted upon. If they're not meeting every week, I feel that would be a drastic reduction in our ability to progress on issues that are brought to us and our ability to be productive.
Representative Kalmeyer.
My issue with this is for people that are in multiple committees, especially right now when we have a low number of representatives on USG. We really need people to pitch in as much as possible. Also, personally, I would like to attend different committees than one I'm in just to see what USG is doing, what all the committees are doing, and I feel like I wouldn't be able to do that with this setup.
Representative Ruska.
This kind of goes back a little bit, but when we were talking about having GA and the committee meetings both on the same days, replacing one meeting a week and having combined, that is a bigger time commitment all at one time, and maybe this is just from a nursing's perspective, but we do have people who get up and have to be in a hospital at 6 o'clock in the morning. I know people have early labs, so that's a longer time at night. They can't go home and get anything else done. I know, at least from the nursing perspective, I can speak pretty confidently that they all would support that you have a lot harder time getting nurses to commit to 2.5, 3 hour time block if that sort of took.
Representative Salvi.
Well, actually what I was going to say, VP Junior said everything, but I want to stress again that I don't think it would necessarily make meetings significantly longer, because a lot of what we do is just not time-sensitive reports that could be done every other week. I don't see any danger in trying it for a month and then seeing what we think. I don't think it would cause too much damage if it were the case that committees aren't being as productive, and then we could just assess and be like, what do we think about it? Do we like it or not? I don't think it'd be that difficult to experiment.
We have our last two comments, and then I'll let President Agarwal wrap up. Representative Vaughn. Representative Fish.
Yes.
Vice President Shaw, would you like to add something?
I just had one concern. A lot of our committees also have at-large representatives, and during winter season it's getting darker. Also, random students just like to come into committee meetings just to sit in, offer an opinion. And if it's darker outside, it's an inconvenience for other students who want to attend these committee meetings and they have to come walk here. It doesn't seem as inviting because we're all in one group as opposed to we're in some, in the USG office or in another meeting room.
President Agarwal.
So I personally don't feel comfortable us coming to a vote on this tonight, seeing as there is almost even amount of course, so pros and cons. But it was brought up that so I'm not ready. I don't think the Assembly is ready to vote on it to make it a permanent change right now. But it was brought up that it could be an experimental thing. Do we want to vote on trying it?
Can we do how much we like it, A, B, C, D, E? A is we really like it, and E is we don't like it much.
So we need to define some parameters here.
Well,
awesome versus.
Is that
what you're asking?
So I guess I moved to have a vote where we're asking the question, the general sentiment towards giving this a try, say for the month of February, and like this could be maybe just for exec, so don't even show the results, or we can show the results if we want, but just a general, like A is, I like this idea, I want to try it. B is, I like this idea, but have hesitations about it. C is neutral about the idea, it balances out. D is, I disfavor this idea, like I'm not in favor of this idea, I don't think it's going to work. E is, I'm really against this idea.
Does anyone want to second the motion that we take a...
Second.
Okay. Is anyone opposed so strongly to taking this kind of vote? Representative Smith?
What are we voting on? There were two proposals tonight. There was one for the every other week, and there was one for splitting GA in committees. So I think we need a full-out flesh plan before we go and say, let's experiment with no plan that we have.
Right now, what was just proposed, what was just moved that we do, is just to take a vote to see if people are interested, how they feel about just experimenting.
The one in the agenda.
Additional proposal, not the alternative.
The committees on the off weeks.
Is any Representative Rangswamy?
Real quick, we will see the results, right? I'd like to see the results, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Would you be okay, since you're talking about it, and everybody seems to be in agreement of an experimental month, just doing like, neutral and dislike? Can you just do 3? Does that make it really cloudy? Would that be okay with everybody? To make it really clear that yes, they like it? 2 would be no, they don't, or A, yes, you like it, B would be no, they don't, and C would be kind of neutral, not sure. Would that be okay? Because I think all of those might get a little cloudy. You won't get a decisive answer. And that's what I think really you should get tonight. This was a great discussion. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. And when she said something to me, I was like, wow, what a great idea to discuss it. Sorry.
No problem. So I think I'm gonna make a formal motion now that we vote on an experimenting on the initial model that was proposed, not the alternative, the initial model that was proposed for 1 month. We will try it.
Okay, so we're going to move to just, do a vote of trying to indicate where everyone is. So if you're in favor of just experimenting with this idea, trying every other week, okay. Vice President Cruz.
Point of clarification, is this voting we are going to implement an experiment, or is
No.
this just gathering opinions?
Opinion.
Okay.
So A is in, you feel like this is a good idea, we should try it. B, you're against it. C, you are neutral or you have mixed opinion. If any of you vote D or E, this thing is going to break on someone's head. It stinks.
Wait, what would you need to do like a... We don't vote on that.
We don't want to make a permanent change to the structure. We were seeing people be willing to try.
But we did a formal vote to try it. You can go to the majority.
Yeah, we would have to.
Vice President Trump.
Just something I need to point out. If we start every other week, then we better have a meeting next week. We have a lot of findings.
President Agrawal, I'm going to ask now, how would you like to proceed with this?
Well, it seems very fuzzy.
Representative Gallon.
It's not compelling for A.
Is it point
So
of
I say, do you think about it, if somebody wants to bring it up next week, you can vote again, yes or no?
I'm going to defer this one more week. Mull over it, seriously mull over it, because next week we're going to really ask you, yes or no.
So
And we may get a non-bonding vote, but we want to know definitively, like, should we try this or should we completely chuck it and never think about it ever again? But it seems like we have enough pros and cons, and maybe you guys might think of some more over the week. So I'll bring this up one more time next week, and we'll see where it goes.
Thank you, President Agrawal. So everyone, this school's open forum, it's not business, so we're just gonna defer this for a little bit. So we're still in open forum. Vice President Bach. Granted. Any other points for open forum tonight? Okay. Colleen, do you have an advisor's report?
No report.
Announcements. Representative Liddell.
Representative Lou and I met with Colleen earlier today regarding the USG Be There for Life team. We're really pumped. We got a lot of good ideas. We're thinking of continuing the tradition of the celebrity bake sale, and we also have an idea to do a fundraising event involving Frisbee Engine, if you guys know what that is. So we're looking to get a committee of 4 to 5 people to help us plan these events. If you're interested, you can raise your hand right now or come talk to me after. But we're thinking of meeting weekly or bi-weekly starting next week. So let me know if you're interested. Thanks.
Representative Toomey.
This Sunday, Fencing Club is hosting our home tournament at 8 in the morning. I know it's early, but it'll be running throughout the morning and into the early afternoon. And we'd all really appreciate it if you guys came out and showed your support. It's quite entertaining to watch fencing, so hope to see you there. It's in a Delbert gym, so thanks.
Treasurer Williams.
New student parent programs is looking for international student ambassadors. There are applications to do this Friday, which is why I'm announcing it right now. It's a really short application. It's a really fun time. It's like all the fun of being an orientation leader, but half the time from the event. So it's fantastic. You get lots of great perks. Do it at case.edu/orientation.
Parliamentary McKee.
Just a quick note, if you were elected tonight, please come up and see me after the meeting for 5 minutes or so.
Representative Gallo.
Alright, so just a couple of announcements regarding sports and philanthropy stuff. Tomorrow we have a basketball game at 9:30 against FIMU and Delt, so that should be interesting. I'll send out texts to the people that play basketball, and I'm also going to send out an email later tonight regarding everything. Representative Ladelfa, send me all the information about Relay for Life, and I'll include all that in there for you.
Great, thank you.
And for everyone else, if you have events, I didn't know about Fencing Club either. It's really hard to know everything about what's going on campus. So if you guys have things like that, send them to me so I can spread the word. In regards to things like that, there's a Friday girls and guys basketball games at 6 and 8 p.m. It's like a disco night theme, so you guys should all wear 1970s clothes and go out to that. Saturday, the annual battle for the obelisk. Obelisk, how do you pronounce that?
Yeah, obelisk.
Yeah. It's the track and field. Last year, Case lost by a point to Carnegie Mellon. And I'm sure if there were people cheering them on, they wouldn't have lost. So go out there. And as far as philanthropy goes, I'm not aware of any philanthropy going on this weekend. I'm attributing that to Sorority Rush and Super Bowl. So in regards to that, girls that are rushing, try not to stress out too much. And guys, enjoy the Super Bowl.
So Nacho Tuesday is back at its regular time, 11 p.m. Sitting in the house. Everyone's invited. It's gonna be fun. And another shameless plug for new student and parent programs: apply to be an orientation leader. It's the best job ever, and it's pretty cool people are going to be working there this summer. So we'd love to have you all. If you want to know more about it, feel free to ask me, James Hale, Brittany, Colin, just anybody. You know who we are. Thanks.
Representative Vaughn.
Nominations for the Student Leadership Awards are open to nominate people and apply to be a Case Ventures leader.
Colleen.
Just a reminder that the iLink, which is the newsletter for the Student Works, is now being produced on a weekly basis. So any of these announcements, if you want to forward to me, I don't know that I can get them in. He's doing it tonight. So no, forward it to Christian Wargo, and he will post it. That goes to all the student organizations, and hopefully the presidents are sending it forward. it's slowly building a momentum. We had, I think, 95 hits on the first email, so that's small, but it will build. And these are all specific to student life, so that's what I really want to push. I have flyers that I'd really love you guys to take with you tonight. One is for the Whitney Jackson lecture, which is this Friday. Free food, I don't know what it is, but if you would take those and post them somewhere near your domicile or somewhere. And then this is our flyer for Power of Purple, which is a week from Friday. I know it's a week ahead and you'll hear more about it next week. But we have the Power of Purple celebration in Twink Center that's going to celebrate student orgs. This year, we're celebrating the Year of the Caregiver. So Dr. Amy Wilson DeFasse, who is a member of the med school, she has been all 5 years the highest fundraiser for the relay. She's our honorary chair this year. She also was a significant caregiver for her husband, who battled cancer for a number of years and survived. So we're very, very fond of Dr. Amy. And then at that night, faculty, staff, student basketball game will benefit Relay for Life. And we're going to sell our t-shirts, and then there's the iPad 2 raffle. And you can get tickets at the Power of Purple celebration in Twink and at the basketball game. So hopefully you'll come out to both of these or to at least one of the two. And if you wouldn't mind posting these as well, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks.
Any final announcements? Vice President Cruz.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Any dissent? Thank you for your great show of patience tonight. Have a good night, everyone.